Your typical Aussie backyard's changed a lot over a generation. We've gone from features like dunnies, lemon trees, hills horse, and a bit of lawn, to landscapes that are inspired by gardens around the world. And luckily enough, we've shown you most of them on the show.
But there's one we haven't shown you that's perfect for the dry Australian summer, and quite frankly, somewhere where Sinatra would feel right at home.
Regrets?
It's a nice cactus, mate.
I have a few.
It's called Palm Springs Style, based on the desert town of the same name in California. The place where many A-listers from the golden age of Hollywood to now, like myself, have come to stay and play. Typically described as mid-century modern with a touch of glamour, features include blending indoor and outdoor living, feature walls, muted tones with pops of colour, and gardens suitable for dry conditions.
So inspired by that, we're going to build the perfect summer entertainer right here.
We're starting by building an open pergola because it's always blue skies and sunshine.
And underneath it, we're going to have an outdoor kitchen, an outdoor bar. There's going to be feature breeze block walls and plants that match Palm Springs and Australia. Now, this is one large paved area. It's been done recently and it's really light and bright. There's a positive and a negative to that. The positive is it's a great look and it's going to match what we're doing. The negative is it's light and it's going to show up heaps of mess if you drop a glass of red wine or a paddle pop on it. Now, because it's light, I'm going to seal it. I usually steer clear of it because it creates a job that you've got to do every year or two. But the light, I think, definitely needs it.
On application, the sealer will darken the pavers, but once it dries, they'll return to the same colour as the day you brought them from Bunnings. For our open pergola, I'm starting with our posts, and I'm using 90 by 90 treated pine to support our structure. I've cut it to size, and now I'm just doing a rebate up the top. That means our perimeter beam won't just be relying on fixings, it will actually have somewhere to sit. And then I've got the guys painting the posts in a nice crisp white. And that's a good tip. Paint your post from top to bottom. That way you know that it's all sealed before it goes in the ground.
I'm actually Adam's labourer. Now, I've lifted the paver and I'm making a hole. He's putting a 90 by 90 post in. So I want to do a hole that's about 120 to 140 round. Any bigger, and I'm just wasting concrete. Any smaller, and I don't have any wiggle room for the post.
That's a nice hole, Jace.
I've been known to dig a hole for myself from time to time.
Now, normally you would think that I'd set these posts in concrete first, but instead I'm just putting some temporary braces on the two outside ones. That way, that allows me to move these into the exact position once I get my perimeter beam in. So, Jace, this is the new aerated timber beam.
Mate, I'm a landscaper. I like it down there. I feel like I'm about 30 stories up.
So, I got you the platform.
I'm getting vertigo or something. Ooh.
So we'll just drop down into the checkout, yeah?
All right, I've got connectivity.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jace. So now the idea is to get the two middle posts set in. We'll fix them off and then repeat the process for the rest of the pergola.
One of the hardest things you can do is get levels over long distance, but the easiest way to do it is with one of these. It's just a poly tube. You fill it with water, you make sure it's got no air bubbles in it, and where the tide is, when my water runs out, and where Ad's tide is dead level. Then you can measure down from the top, and you know you're sweet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's right, mate. So I've measured down 1,400 here. So wherever the water level is where you are, it should be the same.
Bang on 1,400.
Spot on, mate.
Alright.
With all the posts and beams in place, we then fill the holes with concrete. Remove the bracing and replace the pavers. That's the skeleton of our pergola done. The mid-century modern look is nice straight lines, chunky rooftops with thin legs. To get that look here, we've just added a double fascia board all the way around the perimeter, which makes this roof look nice and chunky. And with our posts set back, that just adds to the look. Yep.
So Palm Springs, mid-century. So we're talking about 70, 80 years ago. This would have been ultra contemporary at the time. In Australia, we were still building things out of necessity. And you looked at America to see how they were living and always having a party and a good time. And it was framed with things like this. Now we're going to do 3 different roofs. Over the kitchen area and the bar area, we're doing slats at about 30 centimetres apart.
Yeah, about 300, mate.
Then you come to the dining area, we've got these large squares, still lots of light coming through. And over here, we've got a complete void, and this is going to be a garden bed.
Jace, these shadow lines look awesome.
You can imagine sitting out here and actually getting lost in, like, sort of watching them move across the paving. And hats off to you, mate. Nice straight lines matching the paving. Well, so far it's been the Adam Show because we've been building this beautiful pergola, but now we're going to lay some blocks. Now, everyone knows what a Besser block is. It's twice the length of this. It's got a couple of holes in it, and they're pretty industrial and ugly. But we've got the halves, which are the ones you use to create the stretcher bond, and we're going to lay them on their side like breeze blocks. Breeze blocks traditionally in Palm Spring gardens are quite fancy and ornate and quite pricey. They're about $10 to $15 each. But these ones, they're less than $2 each. They've got a bum and a top. The top's got a couple of nooks out of it, so it's pretty ugly. We're going to face that in, and we're going to lay them on their side like this so we get that breeze effect. When we're finished, we're going to paint it all nice, bright and white, and it'll look just as good as the real deal.
With the pergola up, I now want to infill between some of the posts. So I'm going to make these timber screens out of Merbau, or if you're from Victoria, that is Merbau. If you look at the space... Merbau it is. If you look at the spacings, you'll see that I've started with small gaps and then they get bigger as I move along. That's because I want to create privacy, but in true Palm Springs style, we want to keep it open to allow that breeze to flow through on those hot summer days. To fix off these studs, I'll just be pre-drilling some holes and screwing it off with some bugle screws.
Now, our little blocks are going to make our bar. We're returning the corner here, but just for ease, because we've got the string line set up, we're doing one face and then the other. Now, they aren't very structurally strong because they're squares. They're 190. By the time you add the mud joint, 200, and we're coming up a metre. Because they're directly above each other, they're not tied in like stretch them on. That's why we've got the brick tour. I've done it in a couple of courses, and I've got one piece, I fold it over on itself, and I return it and marry it into the next wall. That'll give it a lot of strength. Now I'm adding a bit of pop. So far, we've gone for a white pergola. The pavers are a sandy blonde colour, so there was no real feature to draw your eye. And that Palm Springs style, there was always one thing. It might be a front door that was like bright red or canary yellow. In this case, it's this wall, and it's called
Peppermint bar.
Peppermint bar. Now, it's not going to be in your face that much because there's a few screens going through here, there's lots of pots and a few plants, but you're still going to see a lot of it. Got a confession to make. I love painting. Not really. It's probably the trade that gives you the most reward. You go from bland to bright, but it just doesn't float my boat. So I try to do it as quick and easy as possible, which means when you're picking your roller down at Bunnings, you got to get the right one for the right job. With something like this render or a hardwood paling fence, you want a long nap or a thick nap because it holds more paint. That means it goes on the wall faster, it means you finish the job quicker, and then you can go inside and have a nap. But not like this nap, like that nap.
Jace has done a great job on that feature wall. You should probably do painting a little bit more often. Oh. Now, we've just finished making the 4 screens. These 2 that we're putting in this corner, we're keeping it in the natural timber colour, and that's just going to help break up this feature wall and all the white on the pergola. The other 2, we've painted them white, and they're going in the opposite corner. To fix these off, we're going to come in from the back of the post. That way it's hidden fixings, and it makes it look nice and neat on the inside.
All good times, leave your troubles all behind, 'cause it's another summertime. Bring back those summer vibes, come alive, get outside, shades on eyes. The party starts at sunrise, yo. Bring back those summer vibes.
Ads.
Jace.
Jeez, we work well as a team. How good's that pergola going up?
Yeah, it's turned out well, and your feature wall, amazing. Your painting skills are brilliant, mate.
Yeah, well, I reckon yours are better.
You got 2 rollers going.
There's 100 blocks here. There's 4 internal walls on each side, plus all the outside. If you did half of that, we'd finish in no time. I'd be a lot happier.
I thought the idea was you're going to use both hands to go with this, because am I correct in saying, Jace, that there's going to be a timber top on here?
Yeah, when we finish, there'll be a timber top on top of this.
Brilliant. So I'll just go pick that up, and by the time I get back, you should be done.
He's outsmarted me this time, but actually he outsmarts me most of the time. Everyone outsmarts me. Now, I've deleted a row of pavers, making the surface smaller, but this garden bed wider. If you're taking pavers out, it's dead easy, but what you got to remember is to re-haunch. That's the sand and cement mix that holds it all together, kind of like binding it in, which means the sand can't wash away and your pavers won't move. Now, I've made this garden bed wider. We're actually going to pebble the whole thing, so it'll be super low maintenance. We've got these 4 pavers. We're going to use them as pads for nice white pots with Bismarck palms in it. The white and then the silver of the Bismarck palm will contrast beautifully against our feature wall.
For the bar top, I've just picked up this 90 by 45 Mer bow. Now, the tip here is you want to leave it for about 4 to 6 weeks to allow the tenons to leach out. Otherwise, you can pick up a product from Bunnings that will allow that to happen straight away, because we don't want to be staining Jace's beautiful white wall. Now, I've cut everything up to size. I've pre-drilled it all. Now, I just need to screw it together, and you'll see here that I've got a stepped pattern, and that's for the return wall in the corner.
I've taken more pavers out and created a garden bed, but when you think about it, it's more like a planter box because it's completely surrounded by pavers and we've haunched it in again. Now, I'm planting these cacti, cactuses, whatever you want to call it. They're all politically correct these days. Everything could be fine, except there was road base here. So we've taken that out and we've just thrown all the waste we had lying around, a few pebbles, a bit of sand and some blue metal. Now, that's great drainage. The water's going to get away. But we've got traditional garden bed mix here, which is going to hold the water in. So rather than just going from something that drains really well to something that holds water, I'm going to mix some of this gravel through it. That means that these guys won't get wet feet. And wet feet for cactus, turn them to mush, they fall over and die, and you've wasted big money. Now, Palm Springs style garden bed is very architectural. You can tell by the 3 plants that we've chosen for this space here. It doesn't have to be full, it can be quite sparse, just like a desert. Now, this one's a yucca. It's called Yucca rostrata. Now, the other guys, these guys are woolly torches. They can get to 3 metres. And this one here is a prickless prickly pear. So really, it's just a pear. Now, I'm actually planting a very different way than what we'd normally do. With cactus and all the little spikes and the pricks on them, you need to make sure that you've got protection. I've got a piece of plastic here which I wrap around these guys as another barrier, but I'm planting them above that gravel and then I'm adding the soil and gravel mix around them. So it's a raised garden bed, which is another way to guarantee that they're not going to end up with wet feet.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, look at the mullet.
Oh, look at that for a tight fit.
How good.
You like it?
Yeah, my blocks have never looked so good.
That's it. And for the corner, instead of doing 45-degree cuts, we've just stepped it so it makes a herringbone pattern, and I'll just put a cleat underneath to tie it all together. And to finish off this bar top, I'm just going over it with a Merbau stain, which will protect it from the elements and keep it looking in tip-top condition. Hey, Jace, are there outdoor kitchens in Palm Springs?
I think there is, mate.
Ah, fantastic. So this kitchen will fit in perfectly with our design.
Nice.
And the best thing is, we don't have any cover here, but these are all weatherproof.
So not just veranda proof, but absolutely 100% rain, hail and shine proof.
Yeah, that's it. We could submerge this in water, Jace, and they'll survive.
That's cool. Where'd you get it?
Bunnings.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah. Ooh, you can fit a few frothies in there. Lucky it's a small barbie.
Oh! And it's a workout at the gym to open the door. 10 of these. Looking good. Everything's in its place, and there's a place for almost everything.
Yeah, I don't reckon we'll get in the Palm Springs looking like this, will we? Let's do something about it, Jace. Ooh, it's time to freshen up.
Mate, you look fantastic.
Jace, surely we'll get into Palm Springs now.
We are living the dream. I reckon we should get all the presenters around.
What?
Dressed like these.
One question we all have to ask is, where did you get the Alpha Sunnies from?
Oh, no, I wear them whenever I'm not on TV.
How cool's that?
Thank you very much.
That is fantastic. But this is feeling good. I'm liking it.
Imagine back in the day getting dressed up like this, pretty much to have an Aussie backyard barbecue.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I feel like we should.
Well, you can see why they do it now. Now that we're in this space, all dressed up, how inviting is it? Cheers to a good job, mate.
Thank you very much. On to many more.
The king is here.
I was the fat Elvis, like late 70s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Obviously not the skinny, good-looking one.